We are live. Hello everyone, welcome to 52 episode of Makercast. Today we have as guests Christian and Chris. And
Hey.
I'm Radomir, I'm hosting. Let's go in the same order. So I will put you, Christian, in the
Hello.
big view and
Yeah.
we can start.
Yeah, hi, I'm Christian. I'm a software developer in industrial automation by day. Originally, I'm a physicist. I'm also interested in software in my spare time. I mainly do graphical or algorithmic art stuff and things like that there. And I also like bringing my software creations back into the real world using digital fabrication machines such as 3D printers, laser cutters, CNC routers, and things like that. I also help run a fab lab in my hometown, and that's where I have all these machines. And I'm going to show a project today that I did using these machines. That's all for now.
Okay, thank you. And Chris, do you want to say something about yourself?
Sure, I can say something about myself. So I'm Chris, also known as Atomic 14. I'm going to be hopefully showing you some of my ESP32 TV stuff, but we'll see if it actually works in a live demo. So could be interesting. I've already done a test live stream, which I accidentally put public. So some of you might have already managed to jump on that before I deleted it. So you've had a sneak preview of what I'm showing already. So should be a good show. Looking forward to this.
Okay, thank you. And myself, I'm a Python developer by day, and by night I build robots and keyboards and game consoles, all with CircuitPython or MicroPython, because I still like Python. Okay, so Christian, let's get back to you, and can you show us what you have?
Yeah, sure. So I'll switch my camera to my desk. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. So you've probably heard about the Penrose tiling. I've got some Penrose tiles here.
Those Penrose know that you have them?
So you can tile the plane using these tiles, and if you arrange them in such a way that the pattern that's printed on them lines up, then you can do that you can only do that in a way such that the pattern is never periodic. It doesn't repeat. So I made a mistake here. Now nothing fits here. Let's fix that. Maybe like this. And so on. So a couple of years ago, David, I understand that you want to explore my shelves, but that's just a big mess that I don't want to explore myself. Okay, so these Penrose tiles, a couple of years ago, I thought it would be nice to have some physical tiles to play with, like these. I mean, these are prototypes just made out of paper. And but the problem with this is that once you make a bad move here, everything falls apart. So that's pretty frustrating to play with. So I thought how to fix that. And what I came up with is the idea to put some jigsaw puzzle-like tabs on these tiles. And that's what I did here. I've made some of these tiles out of plywood using a laser cutter with the pattern engraved in. And now you can assemble these. Haven't done this for a while. And now it doesn't fall apart when you shake it around. And these puzzle tabs, they also have the advantage that now they enforce the matching constraints that fit the pieces together. So now these rhomboidal pieces, you can also connect them this way, but that doesn't work for the puzzle pieces. They won't fit together the wrong way. So that's what I did a couple years ago. And now this year, something new happened. Namely, someone discovered a new aperiodic tiling. And it wasn't a mathematician, it was a hobbyist puzzle enthusiast that discovered a new tile that can tile the plane but not periodically, and then he got help from some mathematicians to prove that. And the pattern he came up with looks like this. I'm getting to the second one, Johnny. That's the first one he discovered, and they call that the hat tile. I think it looks more like a shirt than like a hat, but whatever. And as you can see here, you only need one sort of tiles. For the primary tiling, you need two. But if you look closely, they're not all the same. The ones that are darkest here, they are a mirrored version of the other ones. So in some way, you still need two, but at least they look almost the same. They are mirrors of each other. So of course, I thought I'll do the same, add some make some puzzle pieces out of this new pattern. And that's what I did. Let me find them. Here we go. So if you place them here on the pattern, you can see that maybe you can't see because it's too small, but the corners of the piece are still the same, but the edges are jagged to make these puzzle tabs. And now you can assemble these along this pattern. Here I need to find the reflected one now. Let's see if I can find one. I made too few of those. Oh, where are they? Oh, here's one. And then here I can continue with the normal non-reflected ones, and so on. And I made this engraved pattern on them that also graphically shows you how they fit together. So I came up with this pattern that lines up in all the same ways as the tabs fit into each other. And you can't connect them in a way that the graphical pattern doesn't fit. But if you don't have the pattern below it, it turned out quite difficult to assemble these now. Somehow that still works, but at some point I will probably get a hole somewhere. Okay, I'm good at this for now. Yeah, here. Now I've built myself into a dead end, and I've got a hole here where no more piece fits. I can maybe fit this in like this, but here I have a small hole now. And so it turned out quite difficult to assemble these pieces intuitively that way. And that's probably because these reflected tiles here need to be arranged in a certain pattern it's almost a regular pattern, but it's still non-periodic. So I kind of gave up on this idea because it was just too difficult. I tried one other thing using this pattern. In the paper where they described this aperiodic tiling, they also described the algorithm to create the tiling, which works in a way that you can connect a few of these hat tiles to a small cluster and then arrange these clusters in the same way as the tiles within the clusters are arranged, and then arrange these clusters again in the same way to larger clusters and so on until you fill the whole plane. That's how they proved that it fills the whole plane. So what I tried is using the first level of those clusters as puzzle pieces. And they look like this. So let's try assembling that in some way. I think I already got stuck here. There are still two of these shapes here because there are two clusters. They call them, I don't remember, H8 and H7 or something, because they consist of 7 or 8 hat tiles. Here's the smaller one, and here's the bigger one. But it turned out this was difficult to assemble as well. And in hindsight, that was probably to be expected because, as I said, the clusters are arranged in the same way as the tiles within the clusters are, so they have the same constraints about the special tiles that they are arranged in a certain way, so it was to be expected that it would be difficult. So I gave up on this as well. But while later, so this discovery was, I think, in March of this year, and a couple months later, it turned out that the same people discovered a second of those aperiodic tilings. It turns out that in this tiling with the hat tile, you can vary the length of the sides of these tiles. You can see that there are two different lengths. There are long sides and short sides. And you can vary these and the pattern still holds. But so there's a continuum of different pieces that fulfill that tiling, but there's one in the middle where both sides have the same length. And in the first paper, they dismissed that tile because they said that one is not aperiodic because you can arrange it in a periodic way. But that was only if you allow reflections, as in this pattern. It turned out that if you don't allow reflections, then the new tile actually is an aperiodic monotile, and this time it's a real one where there's really only one piece of one shape of tile, and it looks like this. They call it the spectre, and lost the tile now. And of course, I had to try making puzzle pieces out of this as well. So, where do we have them? Not here. Here. I'm getting rid of all those. So this is the puzzle piece I made out of these. And if you place them just right, you can again see that I left the corners as they are, but I made the sides curved such that they hold together like puzzle pieces. And okay, I'm not following the pattern here now, but I'll just arrange these in some way. And again, I tried to come up with a pattern to engrave on top that would always line up when you can connect them in a way that the tabs connect. It was a bit of a weird pattern I came up with here at first with these half circles and triangles. So I tried to refine that, and after a while I came up with this version. It's still the same shape, so it connects to the other ones here. What's wrong?
Can you hold one closer to the camera so we can see them better?
This is engraved in fine lines, and you can see I had the laser cutter going a bit too fast here, so I couldn't follow the narrow corners. Okay, so I refined the pattern a bit on this, so it's a more even pattern than the weird one over here. So I started liking this pattern, this shape of tile. It seems like the difficulty was just right. It's more difficult than the Penrose puzzle to assemble, but it's less difficult than the hat and cluster tiles I had before. How long it takes to cut and engrave? Not that long. I think I had a cluster of about this size that I was making out of scrap wood at the Fab Lab, and I think the cut, it was about 5 minutes total. I think the cutting is just 1 minute or so, and the engraving is a bit longer because it's more path. So I made more of these pieces to play with and like them. You can still build yourself into dead ends, like for example here, this hole here. There's no piece that will fit here in this hole, but usually you can still fix those in some way. For example, in this case, I probably need to take this and move it over here, and now everything will work again if I do it right. I've got some exercise in this by now. So there's still one thing I didn't like too much about these wooden pieces, and that's that the pattern wasn't really visible enough. It's visible quite well on the camera here. It's a bit less visible by naked eye. So I was looking for ways to make these more visible. So these are the latest version of those pieces I made. Here's a wooden one, and this time I painted the pattern on, so you can now really see it better. There's something wrong here. It's the wrong one. It makes quite a peculiar pattern.
David is asking what's the biggest one you arranged.
I have this clipboard here, and I haven't really made any bigger ones than this because they always fall off the desk. I probably have enough pieces of this shape now to make about 3 times this area probably. Yeah, it turns out when the patches get bigger and bigger, you sometimes, as I said, you sometimes get into dead ends and need to rearrange things, and sometimes, well, let me show that. Maybe I can show that. Let's build a hole somewhere. Okay, here's a hole. Wrong piece. So sometimes you get these H-shaped holes here, and then you can rearrange things to move them around. For example, I can take this piece out and rotate it 180 degrees, and now the hole is over here. And maybe can propagate it further. If I take this piece out and turn it over here, now the hole is here, and then I can turn this one, and now the hole is here. So these holes move around in strange ways when you rearrange the pieces. Sometimes you can't move them further, but sometimes you manage to move them out to the border of the patch, and there you can rearrange the new pieces in a better way. So yeah, it stays interesting the larger you get. And the pattern that you can now see better also helps you assemble it, because, for example, I see there's a disconnected piece here now, and in the real tiling there are no disconnected pieces. I haven't proved that, but it seems like it's all one connected tree in the real tiling. So that's the wooden version. I also made a different version that's made out of acrylic. That is this one.
So, did you paint that by hand?
I no, or well, partially. Both of these, the way they were made is that I took some adhesive paper that is intended for masking when you paint your home, and put it on top of the sheet, and then I put it in the laser cutter and cut out the outline of the pattern with just enough power to cut through the paper, but not through the bulk material, and then removed the paper, and then spray painted it, either black in this case or white in this case. So in this case I masked off the part between the lines, and in this case I masked off the lines and then painted it black or white, and then removed the rest of the paper and then cut it into pieces, and that worked quite well.
Nice, because I remember you also experimented with stamps at some point.
I don't think I explained well. Bleeptrack made some stamps, and I play with those, yeah. But how did she label hers? I don't even remember where they are. They must be somewhere here, but I don't remember. I think she also had them laser engraved on the top. So the paint does on the acrylic ones, the paint does tend to chip off a little. I had them in this box, and I shake them around on purpose a bit strongly, and then the paint tends to scratch and chip off here. So maybe I need to find a better way of doing that. Maybe I need to experiment with some primer or do some varnish on top. I'll do a few more experiments with that. Yes, peeling off that paper was a lot of work. But well, it's okay. I like the result.
I wonder if engraving would look better on the acrylic ones.
Probably not, because on the acrylic it just makes it a bit more opaque, less shiny, but it doesn't discolor it that much.
Or engrave and then wash it with a paint. So paint it and then like remove the paint with a rag or something from the areas that are smooth, so it only stays where it's rough.
Yeah, that could work. I could try that maybe. So the reason I'm still trying to get the perfect piece here is that there was a contest that was offered by the Museum of Mathematics in New York and the UK Mathematical Don't Know Society that rewards any kind of creations with these hat and spectral tiles, and I thought I would submit these tiles there, so I need to get some good photos of them, and that's why I've persisted in making perfect ones. There are also some interesting challenges in getting in cutting these. For example, if you of any normal pattern, if you wanted to fill a whole sheet with them, the thing you would do is just draw a small cluster of a few of them and then copy it and paste it 10 times next to each other and then cut it out. But that doesn't work with an aperiodic tiling, because the copy that you put next to each other, they won't fit together. Otherwise, it would be periodic. So what I had to do, well, what I did to optimize the number of pieces that I can fit on a page is I wrote a script that generates me the whole pattern according to the algorithm that they published in their paper. And then I wrote another Jupyter notebook that I used to optimize how to translate and rotate this pattern on the page to fit as many pieces in as possible. And that took me a while, but in the end I tried about 10 million different arrangements, and among those I found, and it was 85 or something, that fit 56 pieces on an A4 page, and that's what I finally did here. Here's the rest of the acrylic sheet where I cut out 56 pieces. Yeah, I think that's all. I mean, if we have extremely much time, I could also show you the script that generates the large tiling, but I think for now we can leave it at that.
Yeah, we can get back to it when if we have time left.
Yeah, that was really
Sure.
cool. So so these are all auto-generated, aren't they, using a script? So you're not hand drawing any of these. It's all scripted.
Well, I hand drew one tile and then replicated it using script.
Yeah, interesting. Cool. How long? I mean, how big is the script? Does it turn out to be fairly simple, or is it a really long script?
The script is pretty simple. Let's see if I have it here somewhere. Well, what's also interesting is the script generates an SVG file, and the SVG file is pretty short. It is, I don't know what, 100 lines or so, but it contains 4,000 pieces, and that's because it is recursive in the same way that algorithm is. It composes the larger pieces out of smaller ones, and that way I could draw into one piece in the SVG in Inkscape, and then it would automatically replicate to all of them. Yeah,
it's really cool. I love it when you have a something really complicated from a quite simple script. It's always really, there's some kind of strange pleasure to it that you get this kind of amazing thing appearing from what's generally not very much code. It's great. Yeah, it's really cool.
Okay, thank you. And we will go to Chris now.
Hey, so what have I been up to? I guess most people will have seen my my little TV thing, and that's what I'm going to show tonight. So it might be quite boring for some people because you've probably seen it, but I'll show it anyway. So let me just try and reorganize my screen so that I can actually show my desk without getting the infinite mirroring thing. So
I've only seen the pictures. I haven't watched any of your videos, so I'm curious to see.
What? You haven't watched any of my videos?
No, I don't. I don't watch everyone's videos. That's why I'm on Makercast. I don't have time to watch everyone's individual videos.
What about my lovely advertising revenue? You got to watch and. Okay, so this is my. Can everyone? Yeah, is that on the screen? Yeah. So this is my little tiny TV. So it's kind of progressed over time. It started off as just an experiment in seeing how small I could make an ESP32 board, which is one of these little boards here. I've got, there's one. So you can probably see that here. It's just a ESP32S3, and there's a PCB with the voltage regulator, some passives, battery charger, an I2S amplifier, and obviously an LED for flashing. And it started off as that. I was kind of inspired by this tiny TV project, which used an RP2040. And I kind of thought, well, we can probably do that with an ESP32. So I've now got a little speaker. It's got an SD card now, an infrared receiver, and obviously a display. So hopefully, if I use my remote control, we should tune in, and then we'll start playing some stuff. I don't know if you can hear that, but that's Battle of the Planets. So this indicator here is the frames per second. So that's playing at 15 frames per second. and I'm encoding the video to actually be 15 frames a second. So I've got a bunch of videos on here, which hopefully, so this should be Count Duckula, I think. So there we go. There's a bit of a Count Duckula. So finding royalty-free TV that's not going to get you copyright struck is actually surprisingly annoying. So I found lots of old cartoons and a bit of the Muppet Show, which is
stuff from behind the Iron Curtain would work for.
So that's the Muppet Show, and I think this is Monkey. So Monkey Magic, if anyone remembers that TV show from a long, long time ago. And then I think there's a Young Ones clip somewhere, some kind of space thing which I didn't recognize. There's a lot of crazy classic TV which I have no recollection of, but this is the Young Ones. All about getting a video recorder, which seemed appropriate. Yes, we've got a video. So obviously this is my my custom PCB, and there's wires everywhere now. So I didn't put any buttons on my ESP32 board for booting and resetting, because it kind of seemed to work in my experiments. You didn't need them. And then I found that 99% of the time I can flash it, no problem. And then 1% of the time it just won't flash. And you have to so I've wired this to IO0, and this is wired to the enable line. And I just touch them to the USB socket to get into flash mode, which not ideal. So version 2, I think I'll have some buttons on it. And I think I might put an SD card holder on it. And my original idea was kind of a bit daft, really. I sort of thought, wouldn't it be nice to have kind of castellated edges on the board? That just makes it really, really expensive to actually get made. So, and I just need actual plugs for stuff. So it's just a bit daft, really, a bit silly. And of course, if you look at some of Brian Luff's stuff, you'll have seen the cheap below display. So this is a really, unbelievably cheap board. It's got an SD card reader. It's got an amplifier. The amplifier is pretty rubbish, to be honest, but it's got a screen as well. So the code kind of runs on pretty much any ESP32. See if I can plug this in. This doesn't have an infrared control, so there's no control over it. We'll just tune into the. Oops.
I think your OBS just crashed.
Okay, let me just restart OBS 1 sec. This happened in my practice session as well. Right. Okay. What's going on here then? So desk. Okay. You can still hear me, can't you?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And now you should be able to see this. Brilliant. Okay.
Yes.
Tell you, technology is rubbish, isn't it? Yeah. So this is the cheap below display that if you go on the Brian Luff GitHub repo, I'll bring it up on the screen. This is it's a really cool device. Very cheap. The audio is terrible though. They've maxed out the amplifier to really high gain, so it gets very distorted, and it's using the DAC output on the ESP32, which is generally pretty bad, but it runs really well. So this is just a bog standard ESP32 board with a screen on it. So it's pretty impressive what you can do. You can probably get higher than 15 FPS, which is something I've been experimenting with. So I've been looking at how fast you can render JPEG files. So this is a little test I've got here. Hopefully, if I do this and come over here. So can you see, is it updating? Why isn't it updating? OBS is really messing with me today. All right, I won't show you that then because that's not working unless I can change the screen. 1 sec, hang on. Infinite display, but I'll fix that. 1 second. Screen capture. Okay, so I want that one. And then we'll come over here. Here we go. Right. Yeah, so here you can see the actual drawing times. So So these two top ones, they're pretty cool libraries. They're really low memory overhead. So they only need about 256 bytes to decode the JPEG, but they're quite slow. So the original one, this JPEG decoder, it's 120 milliseconds to both decode and draw. It actually takes 110 milliseconds for just decoding, and the drawing overhead is only 10 milliseconds. His improved version, which is based on the tiny JPEG, takes 56 milliseconds to decode, and there's around 8 milliseconds of drawing overhead when you draw it to the screen. And then you got this amazing guy who wrote this JPEG deck thing, which is this highly optimized JPEG decoder.
That's Larry, right?
Sorry?
Larry,
that's it, yeah. 33 milliseconds to decode, and it only takes an extra 5 milliseconds if you're drawing to the screen. Then we got this really weird issue on the GitHub repo saying, kind of, why don't you use SIMD for decoding your JPEGs? And it pointed me at this sample code. And this only takes 18 milliseconds to decode the JPEG. So it's almost twice as fast as Larry's one. But the weird thing is when you actually start drawing, it takes an extra 16 milliseconds to draw. And the reason this happens and what's going on is with these first kind of 3 JPEG decoders, they decode the image progressively. So they only decode a chunk of the image at a time. So you can decode that chunk of the image, and then you can start drawing it. So what happens with the old libraries is the really slow ones are just decoding a 16 by 16 block of the image, and then the display driver, you can just DMA transfer those pixels out to the display. So while you're transferring that block of pixels, you can be decoding the next block of pixels. So it basically works through the image, decoding and drawing simultaneously. And then the JPEG deck decodes an even larger chunk of pixels. So the JPEG deck decodes 128 by 16 pixels. And that's much more efficient because with the 16 by 16 block of pixels, you don't have enough pixels to really max out the DMA transfer. But with the larger block, you can be transferring a lot more pixels while you're decoding another block of pixels. So it's really, really efficient. But what you can do with the new JPEG library is you can overlap the decoding and display. So if you're streaming a video, then you can be decoding one frame while you decode. You can decode one frame whilst you are displaying the next frame. So you kind of overlap decoding and displaying as you go. So it's pretty cool. It's really interesting. So that's kind of what I've got to show, really. There's my TV, which works quite well. Sort of unplugged it. So let's plug that back in. And my infrared control. I did also build a streaming thing, so I can stream from the desktop, which I haven't got set up here, but that works really well as well. But my Wi-Fi is absolutely rubbish. So it doesn't stream very quickly. I get about 8 frames per second. Sometimes it goes up to 10 or so frames, but then it occasionally just goes down to 1 or 2 frames a second. So my Wi-Fi just doesn't seem to be happy, which is not great. So yeah, so that's me. I might try and get my webcam working again because that seems to have disappeared. So I will fix that while Deshipu talks about what he's been up to.
Okay. I just have one question. Have you considered making a PCB for this, like a single one, both for the display and for the ESP32, like the yellow display has?
Yeah. So I'm going to do a new PCB. I'm kind of having a bit of a debate at the moment about what to actually do. So what
because,
I can't work out.
I'll switch. One moment.
So let me try and.
So you can use this display without the module, because the module just has the transistor for the backlight and some capacitors that you don't really need. It's the big cap conspiracy to sell more capacitors. And you can, as you see, you can connect it directly to your microcontroller and drive it. Well, you need the resistor on the backlight probably to not so the LEDs are not too bright. But otherwise, you don't need any components, so it's really easy, and you can solder the flex cable directly to the PCB. So it's not really that difficult to have it on the PCB directly.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of doing. My big worry is that all these displays seem to have slightly different connectors. So it seems really hard to kind of.
This one always comes with the 12-pin connector.
Right, but is that the same for all displays, or is it? Because I want to kind of try and make this. Well, that's my dilemma actually. Do I make it very generic and make it work with pretty much any display, or do I really kind of do it specific for this display?
So here's the thing. This display has the same connector as this display.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
And the pins are also the same.
That's possibly my next project.
You can just solder it the same way. And they are kind of the same size as well.
Yeah, okay.
So this one is 240 by 280. This is 240 by 240. Because of course it's square.
So what I can't decide, and I probably need some help from the viewers, is do I make the PCB completely match this display and build my own tiny TV, or do I kind of try and keep going with the kind of really small thing?
You could have the footprint for soldering the display directly on it, and also the holes for attaching a module.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So this is, if I share my screen, is that sharing? Can you?
I need to add it. Right.
So so this is my current working design so far. So here's the display, and I was kind of just thinking, well, I can just make a PCB that matches the display exactly. I can sandwich the battery in between the display and the PCB.
Right.
And then stick everything on the back of the PCB. And this will fix the thing of the antenna being kind of covered up by stuff, because I can just drop it down the bottom. I'll stick the IR receiver somewhere here, and then there'll be a nice box to go around it in the shape of a TV. But that kind of, I'd much rather have this display connected directly.
Yeah, on the other side of the PCB, you could have the footprint for soldering.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I could put the footprint on here, and then I've got multiple options, haven't I? So I can get a bare display then and just solder it on directly. Yeah,
because the ones without the module are cheaper.
So you reckon, you could take, if I made the same footprint as that on here.
Yeah, exactly.
And that would give me a lot more options, wouldn't it? So so I just don't know what to do really. I'm just stuck in analysis paralysis.
I like that.
Yeah, because I also want to make your sort of round display thing. I want to make one with that as well, because I've got one of those in my box. And then there's all these other displays that would be nice if the PCB worked with them, but I just don't know how to do that without kind of, I just don't know what I'm doing. That's the problem. Don't know what I'm doing.
There is no standard pin order for the connector. That's a bit of a shame.
Well, it's really frustrating. There should be a standard, and and it's quite. You helped me find some documentation, but I found it really hard to find documentation on any of these displays.
Yeah, I usually find them on random AliExpress listings.
Yeah. So I'm kind of, do I build a TV and kind of copy someone else's project to make a tiny TV with a slightly bigger display, or do I kind of try and go even smaller? I've got some really tiny displays. They're so small I can't find them. That's
they're so tiny they are hard to find.
Yeah, so I've got one of these from Unexpected Maker, which is a nice little, I'm not showing my screen, am I? Little tiny board that's like kind of less than an inch sort of wide. So there's just too many options. That's the problem. What I need is someone to just set some requirements for me.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, I guess so. I want someone to tell me what to do. That's what I need. I need someone to just say, build this, And then
You need to wake up one morning and think, I know, I have to build this thing.
yeah, exactly, yeah. And at the moment, I just keep thinking, well, I could do this or I could do that, and I could just add more to this. I mean, I really want to get rid of all these wires. I mean, that's the main thing. I mean, if you look at me, will this actually switch without crashing? Let's try.
Right, so let me
Yeah.
just
Basically, this is just a,
segue from that to my project.
yeah, this is just a mess. So
It's
horrible.
proper prototype.
Yeah, but I mean, even the you're not supposed to just solder on an IR receiver to
You
some
are not?
GPIO pins.
I've been doing it wrong all this time.
That's not what you apparently not. That's not what the data sheet says. And you're not supposed to have your USB connector on the back of the antenna. I mean, I've had so many comments about that. People saying I'm an idiot. So it still works. It's still the Wi-Fi still works. It's not terrible, but it's.
What I like about this mess is the way you use that adapter as an SD card reader. I should do that too.
Oh yeah, no, that's it's great doing that. I mean, it does melt the plastic slightly, but you can just wire it straight up. It's great. It's really handy. I've got loads of these adapters lying around because every time you buy one of these micro SD cards, you get another adapter. So yeah, it's very handy. Really simple to do. Although of course, yeah, I've got displays with SD card adapters on them as well. So you kind of think, well, I should have just used a proper display. Maybe that would have been more sensible. But yeah, I guess being sensible is not really the point, is it?
Yeah, it's overrated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's been my entertaining stuff recently.
Yeah,
old
so
cartoons on small screens. Yeah.
My turn.
Your turn. Sorry. Yes, your turn.
The kind of a project that one day I woke up and decided, okay, I have to build it. And that happened as soon as I saw one of those runs displays. So basically, this is a kind of a patch thing, a thing that you wear.
That is really cool.
And the idea is that it sits on your shoulder or on your pocket or whatever. And obviously, it's like an astronaut badge with the display being the helmet. And I had underestimated the time it takes you to draw and animate a human head. It's a lot of work, but the idea is that it also has an accelerometer on it. So if I rotate it, it does a different animation.
Yeah, very cool.
Right now it's very simple, but
no, it's brilliant.
Normally it just does the blinking. And the plan is, of course, to add a lot of those animations to have like the spirals for eyes. Think if you fake it, for instance.
Brilliant.
And if you lie it down, it goes to sleep, and so on.
That's
things like that.
Very nice.
Did you also have LEDs on here?
And you did all the animation yourself and the drawing and stuff?
Yes, of course. That
must have taken ages. That's the kind of stuff that sucks up time.
Right.
That's brilliant.
So the nice thing is I'm doing this. I'm exploring the new library in CircuitPython. It's built in. It's called GIF.io.
Oh, interesting.
So it actually reads the GIF images and sends them to display. It reads them directly from the flash storage or from SD card without loading all of them all like whole into the memory. So it can do it with very small memory. It also uses a library written by Larry.
Right.
Under the hood.
Okay.
And as you can see, it works pretty well. So each of the animations I have is a separate GIF file.
Yeah.
That I'm just switching between which GIF file I'm displaying.
Right. So is this using Python? Are you using CircuitPython?
Yeah, it's running CircuitPython. So the additional thing is when you connect it to your computer, it comes as a disk drive, and you can see all the GIF files there, so you can easily replace them.
Yeah, that's next on my project. So if I don't get around to the PCB, I'm going to try and turn this into a mass storage device, so you don't have to unplug everything. You just plug it in, and it appears.
So if you are using Arduino, there is already a library for that. It's called Tiny USB.
Ah, okay, interesting.
So it's actually the same library that CircuitPython is using.
Right. Look at that.
so it's
Brilliant.
pretty nice. Okay, so that's I have another one, also with a anime gear there on it. So some time ago, I experimented with robots. I built this one, which is the like default version with the Cube Blue servos and then ESP32S2 module on it. And we had workshops with those. We built about 20 of those already. Later I made a bigger one because you have those bigger servos as well, so why not make a big one? Oh, and Christian has one from the workshop. And then I found those tiny little servos, those 2-gram servos. So I built another one, but this one you can see the tape here and the cables are kind of like wrapped around.
Cool.
That was just a prototype to see if I could get it to work. And I got it to work, and it turns out it was working the best of all of those robots. Because the smaller you make them, the lighter they are compared
Right.
to the strength of the servos. So, and you can also then ignore inertia in your programming. So I decided, okay, I will go in that direction, and I wanted to make another one that looks a bit nicer. So this is one that doesn't use this is the Seed Studio Xiao microcontroller. You can see it. Yeah, the Xiao thing, because it was basically a reflection of the bigger S2 Mini thing. I wanted them to look the same. And here I decided, okay, I'm just going for the looks. So it has actually the SAMD21 chip somewhere underneath the battery in there. The battery was supposed to be a backpack for it, but it doesn't quite work. Nobody wears a backpack on your head, but it kind of looks like it. Oh, and by the way, the legs are PCBs as well.
Nice.
So you don't need a laser cutter, a 3D printer, anything. You just order the PCBs and assemble it from that. But that didn't kind of work that great for me, and I missed the ability to have several of those microcontroller modules with different sensors on them and different code on them, and replacing them on the robot to make the robot do different things. Is kind of a convenient thing. And also at the same time, there was a new microcontroller board released by Seed Studio, the Xiao ESP32S3, which is a monster, which is like
Right.
250 megahertz, 2 cores, and 16 megabytes of RAM and 16 megabytes of flash. So it's a real monster. I wanted to use it. So I read it, and it also comes in a version that comes with this camera module. I have still foil on the lens, but yeah. So it has an additional connector on the top, the mezzanine kind, with additional here on the bottom next to the antenna connector, and you connect this camera thingy into it. So you have a camera and a microphone on it.
Nice.
So you can do a lot of interesting stuff, also with CircuitPython. So surprisingly, I got video streaming from this into a browser. I got QR code decoding. So you can actually show QR code to the robot with commands on them, and the robot will execute them. And this is also a good way of giving the Wi-Fi credentials to the robot. Because you can scan a QR code with Wi-Fi.
Yeah, clever. Yeah.
So that's a very nice way of doing it. So I'm still playing with, there is this standard for fiducials, which are things that look kind of like QR codes, but they are not. If you have seen the Boston Dynamics videos, they use them on the boxes or on doors for navigation and so on. So they are called April tags. And the algorithm is very nice because it gives you the position of the tag that it's detected on the camera image. It gives you a position in 3D space, basically. If you know the initial size of the tag, you know at what angle and what distance it is from
Right.
you.
What are those tags called again? What's the
April tags, like the month April. Yeah, I can type.
Oh yeah, cool, interesting.
April tag. So now I'm trying to port an algorithm for detecting April tags in the image to CircuitPython to be able to utilize them for navigations and stuff like that. But it's much harder than I expected. So probably I won't be able to do that. Anyways, I'm still super happy with the latest version of the robot. The PCB for it is super simple. It's just because I also put an accelerometer on it, so it has accelerometer and battery charging and battery protection, and that's all there is on the PCB. The rest is just connectors for the servos. You can get that like manufactured with like 5 units for $10 a unit at JLC PCB or whatever. So it's really nice. Then you put the Xia on top, and any of the Xiaos works, and a battery holder on the back.
Nice.
And you're ready. There is also like the Xia comes with an antenna, with a patch antenna. So I put that under the battery because then it's relatively far away from the motors of the servos. You don't want to have the antenna on the motors, and it kind of fits together like this.
Cool. Very cool.
And it's I never switched it on, so we can. Yeah.
Freaky.
It does the walking. And that's still the same thing I've been working on for some time. But also I made the legs a bit bigger, so the robot is now a bit bigger overall, but with the same servos. So it's kind of you can compact it
Neat.
for
I
transport.
like it. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Very good.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Okay, so are we ready for the quiz?
I think we
Maybe.
are. Well, maybe not. I don't know.
We can skip quiz, or
No, we can't.
No.
No. We're not going to skip the quiz. This is the highlight of the show.
Okay, then.
Is the audience ready for the quiz?
And yeah.
Okay. Which of these?
Starting.
How do we keep score? What do we do? Is it
just do it like on a piece of paper or something, or in your head.
In my
Just,
head? I don't think I can do it in my head. That's asking a bit too much. Hang on, let me get a notepad up. Right. So.
Yeah, I'll text editor.
Right. Question 1. I like it.
Yeah, question 1. Which of these is not a resistor? Thermistor.
Wait, am I supposed to see a picture? I don't see a picture.
Seeing screen share. Oh, look on StreamYard. Is it not showing up on YouTube?
I don't see it in StreamYard. Maybe it's just me.
Okay, let me share my screen then, and that should work better. Share screen. And I will just.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that works.
Hey, there we go. Kind of. Yeah. Yay.
Okay.
Okay, now that one.
Okay, which one of this is not so don't answer, just note the answer, and at the end we will go back through the questions and share the correct answers.
I like ours as response. I think he's right. Is it a trick question?
Yeah, which one of these is not a resistor? A thermistor, a memristor, a potentiometer, or a thyristor? Yeah, so just note the answer and
Okay.
we'll to the next one.
I've guessed.
Which of these is a crab? A hermit crab, a frog crab, a king crab, or a coconut crab?
I thought they were all crabs.
Only one of them is a crab.
Oh, really?
I have no idea. I'm just guessing.
Which one can you?
It's recalcinization of
Are they all
nature.
edible? Can we eat them all?
Everything turns into crab. All of them are edible.
Okay.
Some of them only once.
And some eat you.
Next one. Okay.
Which one of these is not a standard USB power delivery profile?
Oh, I know this one.
5 volt 5 amps, 12 volt 3 amps, 20 volts 5 amps, or 48 volt 5 amps. This should be easy if you followed the Raspberry Pi, the recent Raspberry Pi release. Next one. Which of these is not a particle? Oh, I have a physics questions. Okay. A photon, an instanton, a neutrino, or a graviton? Okay.
Okay.
Next one. Which of these is not open source hardware? Arduino Uno R3, Raspberry Pi 5, Microbit version 1, or MNT Reform laptop?
I have no idea.
Next one. Which of these is a fish? Shellfish, starfish, shrimp, or catfish? Next one. Which of these is not an electronic device? A watermelon, a raspberry, a banana, or a tomato?
Well, yeah, this is.
And the last one. Which
typing.
of these is not a berry? A watermelon, a raspberry, a banana, or a tomato?
I know that one.
I think I know that one as well. Right. Okay.
Okay, that's all I have.
That's all you have.
Let's go through the answers. Which of these is not a resistor? As far as I know, thyristor is not a resistor.
Yes.
That's what I guessed. But I wasn't sure. Wasn't a memristor some kind of hypothetic?
No, memristor exists. You can buy them.
Theoretical thing.
You can use them.
Yeah, then I'm mistaking
They're
it for
actually
someone else.
made by two alloys of metals or something like that, interacting with them. So they are not like semiconductors. They're actual, like
Quizmaster is always right.
Okay, I guess this one.
Do not question the quizmaster.
I mean.
All right, we can question the quizmaster.
You can question, but I might have made mistakes in there.
Never admit to making mistakes.
Yeah. Which of these is a crab? So linguistically, all of them are crabs, obviously, but biologically, in terms of genetics, frog crab.
Oh.
Okay, I guessed wrong.
Why?
But I don't know any of them. I know the hermit crab, but not any of the others.
Yeah, so hermit crab is not a crab. It just looks a bit like a crab. King crab is actually more closely related to hermit crab than to actual crab. It's this big red thing, the biggest crab in the world. It has like 1 meter long legs.
Yeah.
And the coconut crab is huge crab that lives on land, and that steals. It's also called like the thief crab, or the stealer crab, because it tends to steal things and take them with it. And it's of course also not a crab. Because things just look like crabs. They don't actually are crabs. This one is fun. Which of this is not a standard USB PD profile? And that's 5 volts, 5 ampere.
What?
That's what the new Raspberry Pi 5 needs. And of course, they made a custom power supply to be able to provide that, because this is not a standard profile. So no other power supply will provide this.
I've never heard of 48 volts on
Yeah,
USB.
me neither.
Yeah, that's extended.
Really?
That's the latest extended
Crazy.
USB standard thing. It's crazy. It's 240 watts. So
That's bonkers.
yeah, it's especially for laptops.
That's incredible. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, 5 volts. You can have 3 amps maximum, I think, with the regular.
So far, I've got one question right. So.
Me too.
Which of these is not a particle? So, Christian, do you?
I've never heard of an instanton. I don't think a graviton exists, but at least I've heard it postulated.
Right. Yeah, but postulated. That is still postulated as a particle, right? Instanton is actually like pseudo particle. It's a solution to some Euler equations. That kind of, but like it's in a degenerate place where like its mass is 0, I think. Of course, photons mass is also 0, but it has like everything at 0, so it's really a degenerate solution for a place where a particle should be. But yeah.
Okay, guessed right. You.
Yes.
Well, graviton is now called Higgs boson, right?
Oh yeah.
It's probably the same thing. Which of these is not open source hardware? Of course, Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi is not open source. Don't listen to them.
Oh no.
Okay.
They use open source software, but they don't contribute to open source. Which of this is a fish? That should be easy. That's catfish.
Catfish, yes.
Yeah,
That's just silly English language that calls everything that is in water a fish. Yeah. Which of these is not an electronic device? Watermelon, raspberry. Yeah, so it's watermelon.
Yes.
I've never heard of that anyway.
Yeah, I wanted to use tomato, and then I found some IoT board that is actually called tomato. So watermelon doesn't exist. There is no watermelon Pi. There is banana pie, there is raspberry Pi, there is a tomato board, but no watermelon. And finally, which of these is not a berry? Raspberry.
Yep.
As the name suggests, is not a berry. It's a complex fruit. All the other berries are berries. Like watermelon is a berry. Banana obviously is a berry. Tomato is a berry. Because biologically, a berry is any fruit that is made out of that part of the flower that is just below the petals.
And has multiple seeds, right?
Right, and has multiple seeds, yeah. So a raspberry has like multiple fruits
Berries.
in one fruit from one flower, right?
Yeah.
So it's a complex fruit. Yeah, well, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks.
So what are your scores?
I scored. Well, go on, Christian. You go first.
I have 5.
5.
Out of 8, that's over half.
I have 4 out of 8. So half.
Yeah, that's exactly half. That's also good.
I mean, that's better than just guessing, because it was 25%, which was guessing. So I've done better than.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
You are better than a chimpanzee.
I'm better than a chimpanzee, exactly. That's
Which is more than most students can tell. You know, they are making like quizzes for students, and they get lower than 50% or 25%.
Are you better than a crab too, or than a fish, or than a berry?
Right, or a particle.
Brilliant. Good quiz. That was a tough one.
Anyone from the audience get a
Well,
good...
Looney says he got 2 or 3 right. So I guess I did better than Looney. Although a couple of people are claiming they only got 1 wrong. So who's that?
nice.
Myers
So
make
it's not as malicious as
1 wrong.
was
Johnny,
hoping.
only 1 wrong. So Clem and Johnny are the 2 geniuses in the audience. 1 wrong. So 7 out of 8. Not bad.
Yes.
That is very, very impressive.
Okay, so that's all I have. Thank you.
That was great.
I guess do we want to do anything else?
Song and dance number. Do we have an outro from Makercast? We normally just kind of say the show's over and then we kind of sit here for a few seconds until someone hits the stop button. So we could do that.
So let's do that. Okay, so
that's the end of the show.
It was great fun. Thank you to our guests and thank you to our audience. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and so on. And also to like and subscribe the projects of our guests. So goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Goodbye. Good night.
Bye.